We are in season two, by the way, episode 2 or 3. I can't remember that. I'm the founder of Moving Women Forward Community. It's a community platform for women who are stuck and are looking to move forward in life and in business. Today, in our special podcast interview, we have Kirsten. Kirsten Hurley is she brings so she is a business strategist, business advisor, ILM level 7 coach, but I'll leave that to you, Kirsten, to talk us about and explain more in detail. I always say I'm not here to do the introduction. It's yourself that are going to it's for you the space. So I'd love for you to tell us more. What is this ILM? I've written it down. Level 7 coach. I've had many coaches on my panel on my interview podcast series, but I'm not sure of the levels of coaching. The floor is yours.
Okay.
Please tell us who you are, what you do, and why we're here today. Thank you,
Thank you,
Kirsten.
Jonah. Appreciate you inviting me on. Thank you so much. Um, so to introduce myself, so I've been working in technology sales, so professional services, selling software design and development services for well over 2 decades now. And last year, I left full-time employment and took a little bit of time out for myself for the first time ever since I started my career. And I had the benefit of time to reflect on what I'd really enjoyed doing for over the last more recent bits of my career, I suppose, and having been able to build a really high performing international team, I wanted to lean into that a little bit more. And I found a coaching course. Um, uh, which I've done, and it was excellent for me to kind of go back to basics of psychology and things like that, and how to get the best out of people. And ILM 7 is actually the equivalent of a master's. So it's by City and Guilds. I think it's the alternative track, I suppose, to more traditional university. But it was a lovely course that I could use to top up previous qualifications, basically, but help me reset and think about what I was going to be doing next, which is now I work with founders and leaders of tech services businesses, and I help them. I use my sales skills that I've built over the last 20 years to build growth plans, but then also help those leadership teams to build those high performing cultures as well. So that, you know, once you've sold the service, you can actually make sure that you're delivering the highest possible level of service with the best performing team as well. So that's what I do. But it's not what I'm here to talk about today necessarily, actually, really. As I say, thank you for inviting me on. So something that I found my voice in more recently in my career is the fact that I am a carer for my two brothers who are severely autistic. And perhaps it's age and increasing responsibilities as my parents got older and were less able to do things for them. They had their own health issues as well over time. Maybe it was the confidence that I was in a leadership role, so I had a platform to start talking about these things. I think it was a combination of factors. But yeah, but it's something that I hadn't heard anyone talk about in my career, even though there are 5.8 million unpaid carers in the UK today. By which I mean, so people who are looking after parents is probably the most classic thing. As your parents get older, then you have to, you know, step up and start looking after them when they have health concerns. In my case, it's my siblings. Sometimes it could be looking after a partner who's ill. Maybe they've had a diagnosis of an illness and you're supporting them through treatment and things like that. There's lots of different ways of defining a carer. But essentially, yeah, you are looking after someone, you're advocating for them. And this is something that when you finish your 9 to 5 job, maybe, not everyone has a conventional pattern, obviously. But when you're doing that, then the clock doesn't stop. You don't get to sit down and necessarily chill and watch telly or go out or things like that. Then you're picking up that work. as well, which, as I say, is not necessarily paid for most people, but has a huge impact on your career and how it goes. So the reason we're doing this now, just to get back to the point, is that Carers Week, which is an awareness week, is coming up from the 15th to the 19th of June. So I'm using my voice now to try and build that awareness, because it wasn't something I experienced before, but I'm hoping that we can get some momentum today, Jonah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for sharing your story, how that can resonate with our audience. I'm sure it can resonate with many. It resonates with me, not in particular with siblings or younger or children, but in my family. I can understand how it is and how much you feel it is the burden that you are not able to help, even though you are helping so much. I think that's the silent moment, the silent feeling that you are doing it, but you are not
Yeah.
supported. You don't have a support around you, because obviously the support goes towards someone who is really in extreme need of that in that moment in time. So it's a special week coming up. We want to raise as much awareness as possible, but also I want this to be the moment when we talk about the load that women, because obviously it's called Moving Women Forward. So it's a
Of
platform
course.
to give women a voice, the opportunity to share their journey and to share how they've moved forward. So I want to understand from
Mhm.
you, Kirsten, if that's okay. How do we talk more openly about our emotions and practical load that women carry around by being carers in this case? I'm sure you have so much to say because you are in it. So that's your personal journey, but also from experience from other women that you have been in conversations with. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah. So I think it is an issue that unfortunately affects women more than men. So of that 5.8 million that statistic I cited, actually 3 million of those are women. And I think the average person who actually has caring responsibilities, for want of a better word, foisted upon them, excuse me, um, the average age is 50, but for women it's 46. So it happens to us sooner, and to more of us. So yeah, I think it's 59% of all unpaid carers are women. And many of them are giving up to 50 hours a week of their time and energy on top of doing their jobs as well. So, and you know, and that's paid work, it's parenting, it's running a home, all of that goes on in your regular life, and then on top you've got this as well. So, and it's not just time, it's the mental load. So sometimes it's like, oh, I have to follow up that doctor's appointment because we haven't had a letter through about that yet, or oh, actually this medication that we've just changed to, it's not working, so now we have to make another appointment and find a window that is often working around stretched services as it is, and we've got to figure out how to fit everything in all over again. And then I don't know, like maybe if you have elderly parents, I know some people when they've got parents who aren't ready to go into or able to go into like full-time care facilities, but they might have a call button at home. So it's the anxiety of like, oh, is the button going to go off tonight? Is my mum going to have a fall or something like that? I know that, like, you know, that restless sleep, you can't truly relax ever, is something that I know that that does happen to women as well when they're responsible for someone else. Um, there's also career and income penalties because of all of this additional responsibility that women can carry. So 44% of working carers will cut their hours. So they'll maybe go down to like a 4-day week or something like that, just to try and balance everything. I think you said there about like the guilt, and there's that I definitely identified with, like feeling like in trying to spread myself so thinly, I was doing nothing well. Like no one was getting as much of my attention for me to be effective, whether that was a work project or it was my brothers with something that they needed. I felt like Like I was just doing everything badly, and trying to rebalance your time is a penalty that, in certain companies, like that would be frowned upon, like, oh, they're not committed, or they're not as ambitious to, be as successful as their peers at work because they've got other things going on. Um, and then similarly, actually, along those tracks, 25% of carers actually step into more junior roles because the additional responsibility of managing teams, and or having like leadership responsibilities feels like it's a bit overwhelming as well. And so something has to give for the sake of your own mental health. So you do that. So yeah, and then there's one more thing as well, because more recently the government did bring in an opportunity for carers to take unpaid leave from work. You can have an extra 1 week off work, but it's unpaid. And in today's economy, not many people can afford to take a week unpaid off work, unfortunately. So there's lots of different ways that it impacts women. And yeah, like I think the emotional toll definitely is something which, managing your stress and being able to keep all of those plates spinning is definitely something which, it's, I think you use the word, like there's the silent symptoms of those things that go on there. So it's a lot.
Thank you, Kirsten. I think it's alarming, the numbers. It's quite scary, but I can totally understand. And by the way, not having a paid week. So yes, you
Hmm.
you have the week off. It looks like you are going on holidays, but on the other hand, the cost. So the cost doesn't stop. So you are still
Yeah,
in need to cover cost. And I don't think with a week
exactly.
off, yes, physically you are there more, but
Hmm.
economically I don't think you are cutting any cost, because you still have those to cover for your loved one or for whoever you are caring. So I think that's very important point to raise
Yeah.
awareness. Definitely
It's
that.
almost worse because you're an unpaid carer already, and that's fine. Society, like you would want, I know that I want to be there for my brothers. I want to look after them. I want to make sure that they're okay. Maybe my ego says that, I wouldn't want anyone else to be advocating for them because no one loves them as much as I do, and understands them, having grown up with them all my life, exactly all of their psychology and their needs and everything. So there's that, but it's like you're already unpaid for that responsibility, which is what it is. But then actually you're taking a hit. So now I'm paying to do it, because I'm taking a week off work that other people don't have to do. So
Yeah, and you have to cover your own costs as well, your living
exactly.
costs
Yeah,
and activities, whatever you need, because you still need to do something. Like it doesn't stop
exactly.
there, does it? It's like
Indeed.
parental leave for those who have kids. So it's
Yeah.
you're doing, you're not sitting
Yes.
there
No.
twiddling your thumbs, or I don't know, having a coffee by the seaside,
Mhm.
but you are still contributing, and you are supporting those that most need that time and your energy. Definitely. I remember back in the days, I don't think I was supported in any shape.
Mm.
I don't think there was a conversation about, yes, we need to support Jonah, or we need to, you know, let go a little bit of her because she's doing something. No, I don't think that was the time back then,
Mm.
almost 14 years ago, over 14 years ago. So I don't think that happened in my days. It was a different country,
Mm.
obviously. I was back in Italy, but yeah, it didn't happen. I don't think there was any regulation as such for carers.
No.
Um, so that was one of the things. So talking about the topic of employers and leaders and whoever is in charge of the person, of the carer, actually in this case, how can they, I'm going to call them they, the leaders in this case, or whoever is in
Yeah.
the position, on an executive position, to decide, and how can they create an environment that can support the carers. In this case, I'm going to talk about women, so I'm going to stick with women because I don't have experience from the
Yeah.
men's side. But yes, in, this is
No,
the
that's fine.
thank
As
you.
we say, it's something which unfortunately affects women more than men. So I think there's A few things, and actually, I'm the same as you. Like, I had never worked in a company where there were policies already in place, or someone was equipped to have a conversation with me around it. I always had to do the educating of someone when I was talking about, needing a bit of time off work or something like that. That's not to say that I didn't work in companies where there was actually a bit of psychological safety once I did it, but I think it's around proactivity and for employers to promote the understanding. So, for example, we talked about we've gone on a little bit about that 1 week of unpaid leave. And it makes you feel, if you're having to request it, like it's a favor nonetheless. And so changing it from being an ad hoc favor to actually a built-in right and a documented policy. And if you can afford it, um, like actually making it paid leave as for someone who's recognized as a carer in your organization, that would be top tier. But nonetheless, having the policy published somewhere in your employee handbook, and having it explained to people would certainly be an awesome start. Um, I think when equipping managers to have conversations as and when this comes up. So it would be great if someone was like, "Oh, Kirsten's in your team, and so she's got a couple of autistic brothers that she's a carer for. So make sure when you have your one-to-ones, check in about that and just check that everything is, she's able to balance the workload." Um, Explore flexible working patterns, or let her know that if she's got appointments or if she needs to have a call in the middle of the day with a psychologist about something, then that's fine, and she doesn't need to explain herself to people when these things do occur. But we spoke at the beginning about the statistical likelihood of this happening to people. So it's great if you say, "Oh, this person's in your team and they have that," but manager training, even to be aware of these things when it happens to someone. We spoke about the ages there. So, like, when someone is 46, getting on for 50, like, that statistically. So, just the awareness of saying, like, a manager being able to say to someone and ask as naturally as, what's going on in your life, like, "Oh, do you have any caring responsibilities in your family?" Things like that. So, it it all comes around to proactivity, equipping managers to be able to sensitively have conversations and recognize the signs potentially that someone might have something going on else going on in their life that they might talk about. Um, like they may make a passing comment about, "Oh, I'm looking after my brothers this weekend," or, "Oh, I'm having to look for nursing homes for my mum." Oh, okay. So you're looking for nursing homes for your mum. Does that mean that you're doing some care for her at the moment while you're looking for that? And, you're researching funding options and things like that. So it's all about just having it in your realm of thinking about what people are going through in their lives and how they show up to work. Um, so yeah, I think I've seen this trend over the last few years of creating employee resource groups for people from all sorts of backgrounds, where employers are trying to understand, that their employees' lives and how they show up to work. So creating one for carers, and employee resource groups are often far more successful when they have a senior level sponsor. So someone who's championing y- action, because it's one thing to acknowledge that a situation, but if you're not acting upon it, creating policies, publicizing changes to a handbook, things like that, because if you just sneak a little change in there and say, "Oh, so we can be flexible for people," but you don't publish it and you don't shout about it, then people still feel guilty about asking for it because they feel like you don't really want to give it away. So yeah, that's a little list off the top of my head there of things people, employers and leaders can do in businesses to help. And I will say, when someone has more support, then I think they feel relieved, they feel less stressed, and they're able to be more productive again at work. So it's actually a sound financial investment in being able to help someone show up, like people who are still ambitious and who do want to do a good job. It helps them get back on track and helps them, contribute, and probably builds a lot more loyalty as well in the long run. So when people have that additional capacity and when the business needs it, because they've been supported thus far, then they'll give it back as well.
These are very clear, actionable steps. They are not just tips, but they are really actionable steps. So, in a bullet point, easy to action. No, not easy to action. Very clear, very defined. If you want, Kirsten, later on, you can pop these bullet points in our thread, in the event thread. That would be helpful, I think, for the audience and people who are resonating with your awareness and your advice. So, moving on, the Moving Women Forward community obviously is for women who are stuck and are ready, almost, to move forward. So they want to feel empowered. So we're providing the platform. We want them as much as possible feeling empowered, being active, being visible, and sharing their journey, their voice, and their message across digital platforms. But what is one shift, one action that you believe could help these women move forward? They might have kids, they might have, as you said, parents, they might have other relatives, siblings, or even family members who are they looking after. So what can be one tip that can shift their beliefs and that can help them actually?
Yeah, no, there's this resonates to my more recent studies on the coaching side of things, because that is all around basically helping people identify self-limiting beliefs. And then once you acknowledge those, moving past them as well. I suppose anecdotally, I can speak a little bit about using positive language and giving yourself more credit than you realize for the skills that you acquire as a carer, which are normally very transferable to most career situations. So stop using this language of, oh, I'm just a carer and that's a burden at work and things like that, to saying like, I've learned to navigate some really complex situations, or I'm project managing some, like the care of my brothers, which is incredibly complex and multifaceted. I'm interacting with a wide variety of professionals, they themselves who are under a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And like acknowledging, oh, okay, so actually I'm really good at communicating succinctly to someone about what my brother's needs are. Or I have learnt to become incredibly organized about monitoring when medications need reviewing, because it's the kind of thing the ball gets dropped sometimes by other people around. And I have learned to sit and listen to experts who are talking to me about things that I have no understanding or training around, like the psychology of autistic people, to use my own experience as well. And actually, for my brothers, they're very, very different in their needs, even though they're twins, totally different profiles of autism. But I have acquired all of this incredibly useful information, and I've learned um, how to digest that and analyze it, and then work with others to build a care plan. And all of these things, I know I see a lot, and I have a lot of friends who are mothers, and they talk about, like, you get really good at project managing once your kids go to school and you've got a career on the go and you have to be incredibly organized. I think it's a similar thing there. It's an easy example, but as I say, it's reframing it, like the negativity, the doubt, and feeling like it's an obligation that nobody asked for. And saying, actually, do you know what? This has enhanced my skill set. It makes me just as valid, if not more valuable, in the workplace. and recognizing and using that kind language back to yourself. And then once you start doing that, you get a bit more confident talking about it at work as well. And then there's this nice positive effect. And I definitely found this more recently when I did start talking about it, is that my colleagues would come to me and they'd be like, oh, okay, how can I help? Or they were curious about it and they wanted to learn more. And that made me more comfortable in my identity as well. So, yeah, but I was very lucky. I had so much psychological safety there to be able to explore these things and raise issues and then hopefully make things better for people.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your own experience and your own journey. Kirsten, one last question. I know maybe we hadn't planned out this question,
Okay.
but many women in the community, in the Moving Women Forward community, they've started businesses.
Mhm.
They're still there. They are trying. They're moving along, steady and slowly. But one
Mm.
thing I know that there is someone that is a carer out there. Definitely, there is someone in the group. But how can so it's a business. So they are not
Mhm.
talking to the employee. So to the employer, there is no one employing them, but they are talking to their clients.
Mhm.
So they are looking to have that energy, that spirit, that positivity that they need to build up their own business. So what's one thing that has helped you, talking from your own experience with having a business, running a family, running your own, doing everything else you are doing, and
I
not
think,
except the care, but also the caring
yeah,
for your own siblings, so everything around you.
yeah, I think one thing I have known and learnt and reinforced in 20 years of sales is that it is all about relationship building and consistent behavior. And so, funnily enough, I was thinking about this last week after at a meetup, someone said to me, oh, I've known I've wanted a coach for ages, but there's so many out there and I don't know who to believe. There's no shortage of people out there who will give you advice and and offer to help on a paid basis for things. So but when it comes to relationships, people by people, and they want to understand who that full person is. And it's important to tell your story of like, I am motivated by this particular experience of my life that has brought me to this point where I am passionate about helping people succeed in it. So I didn't realize with my brothers that my lifelong like fascination with communication and psychology started with them as soon as we realized when they were young that maybe something wasn't quite right. And as a 5-year-old girl, there was me already advocating for them, looking at them, thinking like, what do they want? How can I help them? How can I help them, communicate what they need? So, and that actually followed me through my academic studies, through A levels, through university, and obviously I've revisited coaching as well now recently. So I think, but yeah, I think people are interested. They in a world of online where everything is very two-dimensional and it's quite hard to scratch the surface to see who's really behind that. Be yourself because the right people will gravitate towards you, appreciate it, and with the statistics that I've shared, more people will identify with what your life experience is than you think as well. So that's why I'm choosing to use my voice and my platform to advocate for it a little bit more because it'll help people understand, oh, she's good at psychology, or at least she's interested, and she certainly seems quite knowledgeable about it. And she's forged a career off the back of that. Um, Always acted with integrity and kindness towards people. Kindness is a huge thing for me in building high performing teams. And again, this all dovetails into what makes me unique and what makes certain people gravitate towards me. And anyone should be doing that with their own business. There's a lot about personal brand out there and how you build it, but it's true. And then, do you know what? When the time comes when maybe sometimes you might need to reset expectations with someone and say, oh, I'm really sorry I can't make that meeting this week because I've had an emergency with my brothers. They already knew it was going to happen, or they understand because they know that that's a part of you. And most people will be kind and understanding and work with you.
Otherwise, they are not the right people for you. I assume, or I think of, yeah, that's based
Exactly.
on my own experience as well. So if
Yeah.
this is a major issue or something that's coming up and the other counterpart is not collaborative or is not wanting to hear anything about it, then something is not quite right in terms of
Yeah.
relationship, business relationship in this case. Well, Kirsten, I think we're up with the time, but I'd like for you, if you can, please to share if you have any activity, if you're running a talk or a webinar, or if you want to share the research, the link of the research you have found out about those alarming numbers. I'm sure people it will be helpful to the audience. But if you do have something that you're running, please share us. Share it now, please. Yes.
Awesome. Well, actually, organization where I always share, which find to have incredibly useful resources, is Carers UK. So that's carersuk.org. So they have wonderful research resources and things like that. There is also actually an organization called employersforcarers.org. And they provide a lot of resources for helping build policies in and for employers and leaders to be able to do that. But more personally, really, I post about 3 things on LinkedIn if people want to follow me. I think it's LinkedIn, and then it's Hurley Kirsten is my tag and identifier. And like I say, I post around 3 things, which is growth strategies, leadership, compassionate leadership, which maybe we'll talk about another time. And then, carers, issues surrounding caring. And obviously in the run up to Carers Week, I'll be ramping up a lot of information and resources that I post there as well. So hopefully some people will connect and follow me there.
Absolutely. Please do pop the links in the thread if you have any to share, not just the research, but anything that you just mentioned about those organizations. I'm sure it will be helpful to the audience. And thank you so much, Kirsten, for being a special guest and for raising such a great awareness about the carers and whoever is around this topic. Thank you everybody for watching the live. If you have not been watching us with Kirsten in this talk, please watch the replay and tune in next week, next Monday at 12 p.m. BST time. We'll have another special guest who will talk other things, not just carers, but that also included in the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the platform, Jonah. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.